Okay, we're going to get started with the next session, guys. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started. If you guys can quiet down a little bit, we'll get going. My name's Jess Phillips. I'm with Quativa, which is, there's a flyer on your table if you want to see how to spell that, Quativa. So I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today. We had a great speaker the last round, and excited to have Eric here, and you guys get to learn from him. Before we do that, I get to talk a little bit about Quativa and tell you a little bit about what it is. So what Quativa is it is an app for your iPad that gives you all the solar sales tools in one place. So you can do everything that you need to get a job sold. And then we connect you with installation companies that we vetted, that we manage, that we hold accountable, and we make sure that their pipeline velocity is flowing so you guys can focus on sales. So I just wanted to start off by asking who's in the solar industry. Raise your hands. Or has thought about it, especially with the tax credit getting extended. It's awesome. Who's been in the industry more than 3 years in solar? Or 5 years? 7? 10 in the back? Does make me feel old, right? I think it'll catch your attention for those of you guys who have been around solar for a while. It's something new that we haven't seen before. So as we talked about, if you want to see the flyer, it shows a little bit more. You can kind of see the inside the application a little bit. And then we have a booth here if you want to come visit. We've been testing the Quativa app in California for the last 6 months. We've had about $10 million in projects go through it successfully. And those sales groups that have been using the application, they were doing about 150 to 200 jobs a month, and now they're doing over 500 jobs a month. And some of the things that they told us that really helped them was they were able to train their reps faster, close more deals. They have, obviously, everything in one place, makes it a lot easier to do those things. And then they're able to sell in multiple markets without having to waste a lot of time meeting with EPCs and managing them. So one thing I want to make sure you guys understand is Quativa was made for solar people, by solar people. So the founders of the company, collectively between their solar companies, they've done over $500 million in solar projects, so they really understand the pain points and the things you guys go through when you're out selling. The other thing I was going to ask you guys, as far as the questions go, raise the hands again. How many of you guys have feel like you need to change your title to project manager with how often you're managing the projects for solar? Anybody raise their hands? How about, have you guys ever been delayed on getting paid because something's happened to your installation partners? Raise your hands. Anybody? Right? How about, have you guys ever had a project go more than 6 months? This one you might not want to brag about, but 6 months? 9 months, anybody? Raise your hand. Right? We have an app for that. That's the idea of Quativa, is we've got an app that solves for those problems. And that's really where we came up with the idea of Quativa. So I just want to wrap up real quick with a story from somebody who's had a lot of success in the solar industry, seen a lot of different things in 15 years. He's one of the founders of Enphase Energy. So you guys in solar know about Enphase. And his name's Raghu Balur. And there was a time where Enphase their stock was down to 72 cents. They were on the verge of going out of business just a few years ago. And he came to speak to our company a couple of years ago. And at this point, they had rebounded, were doing really well. Company was trading around $10. And some of you guys probably purchased Enphase and know their story. They're trading over $200 right now, so 29,000% increase. And I was asking him, what was the turnaround, or how did you guys, get through that? And he said there was a few different things, but his biggest thing, he simply put, was purity and focus. Purity and focus. So he said we stopped doing the things that we weren't great at, or we outsourced them, and we just had purity and focus on the things we were great at. So if there's nothing else you guys remember about Quativa, just know that it was designed and built to help you guys have purity and focus, doing what you guys do best, and let us take care of the rest. So with that, I'm really excited to introduce our speaker. I want to tell you guys a little bit about Eric. He's going to talk to us about leading with authenticity. So Eric is the president and owner of D&M Roofing and Siding. He's been in the industry for really since he's 10 years old. His grandpa started the company in 1965. I love those stories. So he's been doing it for over 30 years. And he told me about how a little bit about the story of his company, and really, when you talk about the success he's had and why we get to learn from him today about leading with authenticity, his company, with him being really focused on being employee-driven and building his employees, they've grown, as far as revenue, they've doubled revenue each of the last 3 years, and this year they're on track, and he believes they're projecting to triple their revenue in 2021. So I'm really excited to bring up Eric Oberempt, and please give me a round of applause and join me. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, give me a second here. How to get a stool. So if you guys were in here for the last guy, I'm not that guy. I will not make you stand up, yell. We will not chant. We will not do any of those things. So real quick, before we get started, I want to do a little exercise just to get everybody a little bit engaged. If you have pen and paper, get it out. Otherwise, get your phone out. What I want you to do is write down 3 things that you think you need to hide from people because you think it will alienate them. 3 things. We're going to take a couple minutes because this is important. I did this morning, so we're going to take like 2 minutes, write down 3 things that you think you need to hide from people because you think it will alienate them. Okay? And I'm going to stand here in silence while you do it. We good? We got a few? Still see people writing. I like that. That's good. Okay. So keep writing if you still are. But so what I want to do is I'm actually going to share one of mine that I don't really talk about with most people. But so one of the things that I think that I feel like sometimes I have to hide is that my entire life I had like body image issues. I was the fat kid in school. I was the fat kid in grade school. I was the fat kid in middle school. I was the fat kid. And that dictated kind of how I lived my life, my insecurities, just everything else that goes with that. As I got older, probably about 8, 9 years ago, I was way over 3 bills. And so I went on crazy diet, workout, the whole 9, and ended up losing about 100 pounds. I then went and, because that wasn't enough for me, because I still had the image issues and I had the loose skin, so then I went and spent the money and went through the fucking pain of 2 different surgeries to clean all of that shit up. And I still bust my ass at the gym. I still do all the things. I still eat clean. I still do all that stuff. And even to this day now, I still have some of those issues in my mind sometimes. And that's like a really hard thing to like admit, especially to a fucking crowd of people I don't know. Is there anybody in the audience that like that can even relate to? Just raise your hand. You raised your hand first. Give me one of yours. Same thing? It's pretty powerful, isn't it? Anybody else? Somebody else raised their hand. What do you got? Height? Yep. The shit sticks with you, right? So that's being authentic, right? Like just to start out, like that's being authentic, you know, owning your shit. So like in the introduction said, I'll introduce myself real quick. My name's Eric Oberempt. I own D&M Roofing in Omaha, Nebraska. Again, I started working in the industry. I started working with my grandpa when I was like literally 10 years old, climbing up on old tar and gravel roofs and learning how to plastic soil pipes, and I ran tar kettles and did all that nonsense. When I was 16, when I got my first truck, I'd been driving around, with my grandpa, watching him, learning how to sell, and he literally gave me a yellow notepad and said, "Go sell this." So I did. He gave me the notepad. I drove to somebody's house, and I sold him a $500 remop on a little garage. And that was like literally how I got introduced into the sales market, and loved it. So the point of that is I kind of learned everything the hard way. I learned everything from osmosis, from watching him. I didn't have all the fancy universities and all the shit that we all have today that we get to train on and we get to help our people with, and we get to level them up with, and shortening down that curve, where it took me years to figure shit out. We get the opportunity to put it into a shorter timeline. I am also an 11-year recovering alcoholic and addict. That is part of who I am. I spent some time in jail. I was there long enough to buy commissary. So I don't know if anybody in here knows how like commissary works and jail burritos, but I'm going to tell a little story real quick. If you go to jail and you don't want to eat the garbage cornbread shit that they give you, and you want to get in on having jail burritos, you have to steal a trash bag. That doesn't sound scary, but it's scary as shit when you are, literally like you're the fat white kid in jail, and the head guy in your pod's like, "You steal trash bag or get burrito." And I'm like, "God damn it, I really want a fucking burrito." And so I did. I went and stole the trash bag. I mean, shitting my pants the whole time. Thought I was going to get thrown in the hole. I didn't even know what the hole was, but like I'd seen Shawshank. And I stole that and gave it to him. And then you take your little cup. They give you a cup for your Kool-Aid. And then you have to buy commissary, and then you give it to the head dude in your pod. And then at night after everybody goes to bed, they take that trash bag, and then everybody throws their shit into the trash bag. So you got ramen, and you got cheese, and you got fucking Cheetos and whatever else they fucking give you. And then that guy just fucking does one of those and fucking mixes it up. And then you better have bought some tortillas, because if you don't, you're eating burrito out of a cup. And then you get your tortilla and you make your burrito and you eat it and you're happy as a clam. And then you go home and you try and remake that at home with like real store food. You can't fucking do it. It's never as good. It's amazing. I also sold cocaine for a couple of years. I did that, like always the entrepreneur, right? Right before I got sober, my last DUI was my 4th felony offense DUI, and I had actually been selling that night, and I sold cocaine on the honor system. So I would throw teeners into my truck, into like the console, and then guys would text me and be like, "Hey, I'm going to come pick one up," and then they'd pick it up, throw in 100, bounce, right? So I was driving home 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, at least I thought I was going home, and I get pulled over. Obviously, I'm screwed. Cop throws me in the front of the car, comes back and goes, "Hey, do you want this $1,000?" I was like, "Oh, shit." I had 10 teeners in my truck, and there was $1,000 sitting in there. So somehow, by the grace of God, I sold all my cocaine. So, and he fucking patted me all the way down. I had way more than an 8-ball in my cargo pocket. Didn't find it. And yeah, and I pulled off the old, "Hey man, before you book me, I got to take a piss" trick. And somehow, with him standing behind me, I was able to do one of those and throw her into the toilet and flush before I got booked. I would literally still be in jail today if those things wouldn't happen to me. The point of the story isn't so that you feel sorry for me or think that it's a cool story or whatever it is, right? Like, the point of the story is to show you what I think authenticity looks like, okay? I don't care. It's not who I am. It's just a part of my story today. I was a horrible son, a horrible grandson, a horrible friend, and definitely a horrible leader. I was garbage. I never thought about anybody but me. Unless you had something for me, I didn't care. Like, you didn't exist. If I needed money or a job or something like that, you're on my radar. But if you didn't, you were nothing to me. And I definitely was not there to help other people. And that's kind of the point of this as well. Let's see here. So I was asked by Sam to come here today to speak about being an authentic leader and what that means to me. My intention here is, after I babble on for a little bit, hopefully you guys get a little bit of insight into what you think that is for you, so you can take it home and actually use it with your team. So I believe in leading with 3 principles that I think encompass authenticity, okay? Honesty, humility, and accountability. I think these are the 3 most important components of being authentic. I'm going to pull this over here so I don't look like an asshole looking over to the right all the fucking time. So honesty means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, okay? To me, it means being honest about who I am to my core. Like, deep down, values, right? What does that mean to me? You know, is that family? Is that spirituality? Or is that owning my shit and all the things that I fucked up in my past? And I'm not telling you what it is for you, right? I'm telling you what it is for me. That's all I can do. All I can do is tell you how shit relates to me. You take it and figure out what it is for you. You know, is it how I treat other people? When it comes to business, does it mean that I do the right thing every time, even if it costs me money? Every time, no matter what. I don't know how many roofers there are in here, but solar guys, whatever. I think there's about 4 roofers in this whole place this time. But do you own your shit when you screw something up on a roof? Or is your automatic, you know, you get that phone call, and somebody I think said this the other day maybe, but when you get that phone call from the homeowner, are they just crazy every time? Or did Jorge really fuck up the rose bushes? That wasn't derogatory, like my crew leader's name is Jorge. So, but I mean, do you own it? Do you go out there and go, you know what, we could have fucked that up. Let's go fix that. And maybe they are crazy. We all have crazy asshole customers, absolutely. But do we go in with the benefit of the doubt that they're not? That's what I have to do. Am I honest with my team and my people? I was shocked when we did some hiring last year and we showed, you know, how we pay commissions and how we're, you know, transparent with showing profit margins and all that kind of stuff and how people get paid. And there were literally people that came into the office and they're like, oh my God, you show us all of that? Well, yeah, who the fuck doesn't? Like, I was shocked. I was shocked that somebody wouldn't be transparent and show if you have returns, right? Like, that's the easiest thing as an owner or company to do is like hide returns for $400 or, you know what I mean? Like, whatever you bring back because you think that's going to make you a couple extra, you know, that's being honest. That's authenticity. That's being authentic. That's being real. owning your shit and doing the right thing. I know I'm kind of dragging on this, but I think that the honesty thing, I think that this is the most important thing that draws people to you and gives you the opportunity to influence them. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all want to do, right? We want to, authenticity, yeah, whatever. I mean, Sam picked me for authenticity because I don't give a fuck what I say and I don't really care what other people think, right? So like that's why I'm the authentic guy. But are we honest? And I think that's what gets us through this whole thing. That's life, right? If we're honest with people that we care about, well, everybody, but, why do I care about people? I don't know. I care most about the people that are in my life. And am I being honest with them? And am I doing the right thing all the time? And just a couple other examples that I wrote down here, because these are easy ones, like easy little white lie stuff that you don't think about. Do I teach my guys to be honest with adjusters for like the roofing guys in here? And sorry, solar guys, and like I don't know what the fuck a kilowatt even is. So I can't, I literally have no idea. Like, I remember the movie where there's so many, like it makes time travel possible, and that's all I know. But do we teach our guys to be honest with adjusters, right? Are we going out there and trying to bullshit 20-year-old damage because we found a storm date that's 5 miles away? Like, are we that guy? Are we that company? Is that what we do? No. Are there companies that do that? Are there people that do that? Absolutely. Are there guys that manipulate damage? How easy is it to manipulate wind damage? Super fucking easy, right? But we don't do it. But there's people out there that do it. There might be somebody in this room that's done it. It's easy to, oh shit, it creased. Why is there only 5? Fuck, I don't know. When you're honest, people can feel it, okay? And I'm not trying to be Doug guy. I forget, what's Doug's last name? What is it? Yeah, Cartwright. I'm not trying to be Doug, right? But when you're honest, people can feel that you're being honest. When you are standing in front of somebody and you're talking to them and you're being honest, you're being authentic, you're being your real self, people know that. They also know when you're full of shit. They know that. And they're automatically do one of those. Every single time. Because you're being genuine, right? And the example I wrote down here was, I wouldn't walk into a room with devoutly religious people and try and pander to that crowd, because it would be a super disingenuous thing for me to do because I don't know a fucking thing about it. And I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm also not going to stand into a room and try and convince somebody of my way of thinking either, because that's disingenuous. That's not my job, right? My job is to tell my story and hope that somebody relates to it in here and gets something out of it, and it adds a little bit of value to their life, and they get to go home and they get to use it, and a year later somebody says, wow, you're different than you were a year ago, right? I believe you. It also means being who you are, right? I say a lot of naughty words. It's who I am. I'm not going to go say fuck in a $1 million close meeting that I'm trying to, do on some big commercial property. Like, I know my audience, okay? But I know who I am. One of the examples that I always think about is back in our 20s, whatever. Well, shit, some of you now. Go out to the bar, and you're single, whatever. Well, maybe you're not. But there's always that guy that can go up and say anything he wants to any female, right? Because he doesn't care. But he's being authentic, he's being funny, he's being whatever, but it could be misconstrued as uncouth or offensive, whatever. So I was that guy, right? But we all, and so maybe you were that guy, okay? Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. But if you were, think about it, if you were that guy. If you were that guy, you all had the friend that tried to be you, right? And then he fucking did it, and it was super rapey. Right? And you're like, fuck, stop, don't, God damn, guy, like, that's not working good. Like, you ruined the night, shit. He wasn't being authentic, right? I was being authentic, like, that was me. And the person knew that, usually. I mean, I might get a slap, but they usually knew that. If that person would have actually been themselves, who knows what would have happened, right? Who knows? Maybe they would have taken him home. But maybe, you never know. But the point is that they were always trying to be somebody else. They were trying to be me in that instance or whatever, right? Like your buddy was trying to be you. Be who you are. Be who you are, and people will respond to that. Okay? So the next one, humility. Ever heard of that? We're going to walk around this conference and look online and social, and we could do a whole fucking presentation on humility, couldn't we? I think that this is one of the most important things. God, you see so many guys out there that the whole purpose of their existence is a dick measuring contest or trying to show, I mean, not literally, right? But I mean, trying to show how big of a deal they just sold online, posting fucking checks and whatever. And not that there's necessarily something wrong with it, but it's about the intention, right? It's about the intention of why you would be doing something like that, right? I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of these guys, they'll come up and chew me out afterwards, and I don't really fucking care. But most of them do it for the attention. Most of them do it for the attention. The ones that might be doing it to motivate people inside their organization or whatever, that's a different story. And if that's what you're doing, then good for you. But most of them are not. There's nothing that drives me more nuts than people that don't have humility. People who have humility are always the most successful people long term. You can be a cocky prick and be super successful for maybe 2 to 4 years. You will not last in any industry, I don't give a shit what it is, if you don't have humility. Absolutely not. You will not ever see anyone in my company ever do shit like that. And have I even said it? So Tim works for me. But I've never even said that before, but you just know that's not what we do, right? It's not our culture. And there's companies I know that it is their culture, and again, I don't want to hear your shit after the thing. But I don't. But I really think that humility is important. It's something that if you think, like, if what I said bothered you a little bit with the humility comment, maybe it's something you need to think about a little bit, right? Anytime somebody says something that makes you a little fucking uncomfortable right there in the gut, just a smidge, maybe it's something you need to think about. So this was an example of that I always like to use. I'm big into sports analogies, but my old football coach used to dig this into our brains. He said, when you score a touchdown, act like you've fucking been there before. Right? You get in the end zone, you hand the ball to the ref, you run back to the sideline, you get the ball back, and then you go score again, and you hand the ball to the ref, and then you go get the ball back, and you score again, and you hand the ball to the ref. We don't do fucking dances in the end zone. We don't run around like assholes. We do our job. We do our business, and then we win. Because you know what's fun? Winning. Winning is fun. Screw that, like, it's fun to play the game. Fuck that. It's not fun to play the game. It's fun to win. Enjoy the journey, sure, right? But it's fun to win, and that's why we're all here. We're all here at the end of the day to win and to up-level our guys. I forgot to say this, but I think this is important. Champions don't need to show you how good they are. I mean, I think that's something you can write down. Champions don't need to show you how good they are. You'll just know it. They lead by example. Oh, who's calling? Who is it? Is it your mom? No? Okay. I didn't know, just for the record, I didn't even know, like, was that a ringer or an alarm? Okay. I didn't know people still had fucking ringers on their phones. Like, I didn't even know that, because, like, who can ever hear their phone ring? Anyway. All right, last one. Accountability. Accountability is, God, there's so many, everybody talks about accountability. I know Homeboy before me had it up on his thing, and he, you know, whatever he said about it was probably completely different than, you know, like, who knows what I'm going to say about it. But I think that this is what separates the men from the boys. Are you accountable to not only yourself, but your team or your leadership group? Being authentic means owning your own shit, which also means being accountable. I mean, it's the same thing. Being accountable doesn't just mean checking your numbers and doing your work, right? It means being accountable for your mistakes and learning from them. And again, this isn't like, I'm not giving you groundbreaking shit here, right? I mean, we all know this stuff. But I guess sometimes it helps to just have it reframed a little bit and a reminder. So hopefully that's what it's doing. Are you holding your team accountable? Being authentic means not being afraid of holding people accountable to what they promise to do. That's being authentic. When you hired somebody, you told them that you were going to get them to a certain point. You told them that you were going to teach them how to do something, and that you gave them expectations, and you told them that they had to be accountable to sell 5 roofs a month, or 8,000 pest control. I don't fucking know. Like, you guys sell millions of pest control shit. Like, I don't even know how you do that. I don't get that. But I don't even know what those numbers are. But like, you told those people that you were going to hold them accountable. Are you actually doing that? Or does 3 months go by and you haven't even seen Billy, and Billy's shit in the bed? Well, what were you doing? Were you holding yourself accountable to what you told Billy you were going to do? That you were going to be there to support him and train him and, whatever. Now, if you were and Billy still sucks ass, fire Billy. But, right? But were you being accountable and holding him to what you said that you were going to do? That's being authentic. You set standards and goals for yourself and your team. What are you doing to make sure you kept your promise? We all get caught up in the day-to-day of selling during the season, right? Especially for me, so it's a little bit different. Everybody's market's a little bit different. But so I'm in Nebraska and Iowa, and it gets fucking cold and snows, and we can't work. So like, we literally shut down residential sales in December, and we don't start back up again until March or April, just because we can't install. And it's obviously hard to knock doors in 10 foot of snow and whatever. So I mean, we shut down, but when we're out there in the day-to-day, when it's super busy in the spring, summer, and fall, are we pushing our guys the whole time to be accountable, because it is super easy. Like, I know for the roofers here too, it's super easy in the fall, especially if you're in the Midwest, where you've got this big pipeline from April to August that you're still dealing with all of these customers, whether it's adjuster meetings or it's follow-ups or it's, whatever it is. And it gets really, really easy to say, well, I've got this huge pipeline from these last 5 months. I don't really need to go out and find new business. I'll worry about that next year. And that's why roofing sales guys in the Midwest don't know what to do in the winter, because they don't plan ahead. But are we being authentic, and are we being accountable to our team to make sure that that's not what's happening to them, right? Yes, it's their job. Yes, it's their job to go out there and do that. But it's our job to make sure that they have the tools and the leadership and the accountability to do what we told them we were going to teach them to do. If you're not doing that, you're not being authentic. You're not being real, because you're not doing what you told them you were going to do. I don't know, I think that's what it's all about. Oh, let's see, what else do I got? That's about it. So to kind of sum it all up, I think, that's all this is, right? Like, you can tell me to go screw. But I think that being authentic is being true to who you are. Being true to your core values that's right here. That shit that's in your heart, that shit that's in your gut. What you know is right. What you know is right. That's being authentic. Don't try to be somebody else, okay? Don't copy other people. And I know I went for, I don't know how long, in the beginning about this, but I think this is so important. We all watch our videos and our, like the influencing, what do you call it, influencers? Yeah, whatever. But we all watch these people. And that's great, and we get ideas from them, and we get, motivation, and we get whatever. But don't try to be Gary Vee. Don't try to be Grant Cardone. Don't try to be anybody else. I don't want Tim or Anthony to be me. I want them to be them. I hope they get some shit from me that they learn that they can use in their own authentic lives and selves. I mean, I hope I bring some value to them for that, but I don't want them to be me. I don't want them to pretend to be Eric. I want them to learn who they are. And again, that doesn't happen overnight. You're not going to walk out of this room and go, I know who I am. You fucking don't. I mean, it takes a long time. Sometimes it takes going to jail for a little while and eating jail burritos, Be who you are. Figure out who that is, and then fucking own it. That's all I got. I would love, I know we've got a little bit of time. I would love for some questions. I am way better at question back and forth shit. If there's roofing companies in here, if nobody wants to talk about authenticity and doesn't give a shit about what I just had to say, if you got roofing questions, I'll take those too. I've been doing that for a really long time as well. So does anybody have anything? Absolutely. Yep, that's actually a good question. So you should ask my wife, does she? And the answer is yes. She's more foul-mouthed than I am. Yeah, it's actually, am I wrong? No, I'm not wrong. So it's really funny because I have a niece that's like 12 now, and my daughter is 5, and both of them know not to say what Uncle Eric or Daddy says. And my daughter will sit there and she'll like listen to a song that has something nasty in it. And she'll stop and go, I can't say that, right? And I'm like, no, sweetheart, not yet. But soon. So the crux of your question is, are you a bad dad? And the answer is no. So I am not. No, I know. I'm just giving you shit. Yeah, go. So you've got like, you're saying like you have a reputation for it? So what do you do? Okay, and you've got a team? How many guys? Okay. How long have those guys been with you? God, sorry, I didn't get everybody to fucking yell like that. Sorry. 3-4 months they've been with you. And in 3 or 4 months, you've already established a reputation of that you don't hold them accountable? Okay. Yep. 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 So my recommendation would be, because I think that we're all guilty of that. I mean, I know that I am, and I have to like do resets all the time. You take the time, as far as the accountability part, you take the time by yourself or with a coach to sit down and figure out exactly what it looks like. It's all about writing it down and figuring out how you're going to hold these people accountable and how you're going to hold yourself accountable, whether it comes with reading a book, Mini Habits, that a bunch of us read, to be able to figure out, how to make your habits so you can actually hold yourself accountable and do all these things that you want to do. And then once you do that and you get that plan put together, you take the time and you bring everybody into a room and you say, hey, you know what? You own your shit. And you say, hey, I fucked up. I wasn't holding you guys accountable. I wasn't holding myself accountable for the shit that I told you that I was going to. That stops now. Right? And you're not just saying it because you're showing up with a plan. Right? If you just show up and say, we need to do better, you sound like an asshole. Right? Because you have no plan. Have a plan. People respect plans and executable items. Right? And if you come in with that, all of a sudden, you are that accountable leader. And they're going to be like, I'm following that guy because he's going to make me money. Yeah? Okay. So I will do like some self-reflecting meditation stuff to really find my truth and then figure out where I was at fault, what part I played in everything with whatever's going on, right? Because you're doing a reset because something happened, right? Or something bothered you or something bothered somebody else or whatever it is, right? So I take some time and I just tell everybody, like, leave me the fuck alone, or get up really early in the morning so you can do some meditation time for yourself and reflect and then write down, because that stuff doesn't stay up there, right? And I'll write it down, and then I will go to one of my top guys that I trust implicitly to say, hey, here's what I feel like I need a hard reset on. Help me come up with what we need to do to implement whatever it is that we need to implement, right? Because I've learned for sure that I can't do everything on my own. I have always thought that I can do everything on my own. I've always thought that I can figure shit out because I'm the smartest guy in the room. And that may or may not be true, but there's a reason that I brought people into my life and into my company and, into my family, is I have to trust them to help me. And then once you really buy into that and buy into the fact that, like, those people are there to help you, and then you can use them for that, I mean, sky's the fucking limit at that point. Does that kind of answer your question? Okay, thank you. Yep. Pornhub, RoofHub. Yeah. Good question. So he asked during the off months and in the winter months and stuff with us, what kind of goals and expectations and things like that do we have for our sales guys? So that's been a struggle for me over the years because I wasn't good about being accountable for that, because it gets really hard, in the snow. It gets really hard to go sell. Doesn't mean we can't do it, and we do it, right? But I know the level that it goes up. So we focus a ton in the winter on onboarding and training. So, like, we take that 3 or 4 months to reflect back on everybody that we had, who left, why they left or didn't leave, who stayed, how they performed, how many more new guys we need to bring on for the next season, what systems we need to change, because every single year, I think I got it figured out for 2020. And then at the end of the year, I'm like, well, that was wrong, right? And so there's always like 3 or 4 things that I need to completely shift, whether it's in the culture or it's in the processes or the systems. And so that's our time to do that. Like, you're working in Florida, you don't really get that time. Like, you're just go, go, go. So yes, it's a curse that we don't get to work as much, but it's a blessing because we get to take that time to really up-level the company and figure out what we screwed up and then be able to fix it for the next year. So, and that's also why I have him, so I don't have to figure out how to keep the guy selling, because I'm not really good at that, so I brought him. So find a guy, if it's not you, right, that'll take those guys out in the snow a couple days a week and keep them knocking. Yeah, I mean, still do that, but I mean, if you expect guys to go out 6 days a week when it's 20 degrees outside, like, you're fucking crazy. But, you know, but you can still get them to go out, you know what I mean? Like, you still get them to go out just to keep them in the flow type of thing. I think that that's super important. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Does that answer? Okay. Yep. Right. So we are currently actually like revamping all of that. I'm kind of changing how we do that specifically, and I'd love to have a conversation with you about it, you know, after here. But we're setting it up so it's like you've got your yearly and your quarterly numbers that we're expecting you to hit, and then we adjust it for those months. So if you catch up to a certain point, you're still going to have a minimum number. Like, you still have to go out and like talk to so many people to at least show that you're doing something. Because if you do that, you know we're still going to close stuff, right? But then it gives that 3-month little, like, they're not shitting their pants that they're going to get fired, you know, type of thing. So it is, again, it goes back to that. It is way harder. I know that it is. And there's not a magic bullet, I don't think, for that answer. I think it's a matter of if it's in your culture and guys expect that they have to do it. But the minute that they don't, or there's a bunch of old guys in your company that never did it and you can't get them to change, that's where the shift comes. You know what I mean? Like, where they either need to get on board or, you know, like, you need to get them to get on board so that they'll lead those young guys. I know that's not a perfect answer, but like, I'm literally brainstorming that at the same time. So, but thank you for the question of making me feel dumb. What else? Anybody? I'm sorry. Balance? How do I balance my life? Oh, good question. I have a 5-year-old daughter at home, and at the end of the day, she's literally the only thing that I give a shit about. Like, I would kick my fucking wife in front of a bus to save her. I'm honest. That I know that what I do during the day and when I go to work or when I leave to come to places like this, I have to get into the right mindset and understand that I'm doing it so that she sees, you know, what I'm doing as she grows up and respects that and knows that I'm out here not just trying to make money and, you know, and do a job, but I'm trying to help people. And then when I go home, I am not perfect at this, but I am super intentional about when I leave and I go home and I'm spending time with my family and with my daughter, that's what I'm doing, right? It doesn't mean that I don't answer a call if one of my, you know, if one of my leadership guys call and need something, but I really try to do everything that I can to make that time and to make this time, so that when I'm here and I'm talking to you, this is all that I'm focused on. So that when I go home, I can have that balance, right? And I think, maybe Sam said it, and he was talking about the little goofy board thing that he's got at the booth or whatever. I mean, that made a lot of sense to me, you know, that like, you're never just balanced, right? Like, you're always shifting. And I think that was a really good analogy that he had. So hopefully, I don't know if that answered your question, but hopefully it does a little bit. Okay. Anybody else? Mo. What scares me the most in business? No fucking hail. I don't. That's scary. I don't know. I think having a family and a kid changes your outlook a little bit, where all of a sudden you don't have, it's not just you anymore, because like I could have blown this whole thing up, 20 years ago or 15 years ago and not given a shit and been like, nah, I'll rebuild, or I can go live in some piece of shit apartment and, I'll rebuild and I'll figure it out and I can, whatever. It's easy when you're young. I think as you get a little bit older and you have responsibilities and family and all that kind of stuff, I think that's the fear sometimes every once in a while that'll creep in. Like, I better keep this train going, or I've got a 5-year-old that's going to be living on the street, right? So I think that's a legitimate fear, but I don't really get scared anymore, because here's what I'll end it with, because I know we got 1 minute, he said. I know that if I wake up every day and I do the right thing every day and I treat people the right way every day, that good things and the right things will happen to me, and eventually I will always succeed if I continue down that path. I truly believe that, and I know that to be true, and that's why I don't get scared anymore. So, hey guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate your attention.